start now?
Okay. First of all, I want to thank Prof. Ahmad, appreciate your initiative moving forward. This is our second meeting after the first round of meeting. And nice meeting you all of you, Prof. Rahina, Almi, all again. What I will do is, my name is Luk Raj. I represent Eon Reality in Malaysia. And Peter is the Chief Learning Officer for Eon Reality, who is actually from Singapore. And very well learned gentleman and come from the education industry. He will introduce himself. I want to thank you again, and over to you, Peter.
Okay, thanks, Raj. As Raj said, I'm the Chief Learning Officer, and I've been with Eon for a little bit over a year now. Prior to that, I was the Director of Teaching and Learning at Nanyang Technological University here in Singapore for 10 years. And before that, I was a faculty member at the University of New South Wales in Australia for 20 years before that, and for a short time at the University of Newcastle. I've also done quite a lot of consultancy work from the position of higher education development, teaching and learning development around, particularly around Southeast Asia. And so my interest, sorry, I'm just going to share my screen. My interest, of course, given all of that background, is really in the teaching and learning side of things and how the platform connects with faculty and students. So what I'm going to do today is in two parts. The first part, I'm going to give you a kind of framework for the use of the Eon XR platform and how it addresses a number of difficult issues in using augmented and virtual reality. And then after that, I'm going to give you a quick hands-on demonstration of how the platform actually works. So just to kick off, we do have an Eon Education Board, and the Eon Education Board is chaired by Professor Bertil Anderson, who used to be the president of NTU here in Singapore. And as you know, of course, with NTU, they had a remarkable rise in the rankings during his time there from in the CS rankings from number 86 or 7 to number 11 in the world. And a lot of that had to do with complete change to the way that education happened, so that he revolutionized the education at NTU. And I'm very glad to say that I was part of it. I'm also on the Eon Education Board. And one of the things that I'd like to suggest here is that this is not just about XR or augmented virtual reality, mixed reality as a mode of learning. It's also about the design of the platform. The design of the platform is actually really, really important. And it's the combination of things that leads to its pedagogical value. Some people think that it's just about XR itself, but it's not. It's about the way that it's used as well. I'd also like to mention at the beginning both some technological barriers that have existed to the widespread use of augmented and virtual reality, and then go on to talk about what I see as some pedagogical imperatives. In terms of the technological barriers, I've been to a lot of universities around the world, and I noticed that many, perhaps most universities are actually already operating in the augmented and virtual reality space, but there's no widespread use of it amongst students. And my old university of the University of New South Wales is a good example of why. They have a dedicated team who are constantly building customized applications for different faculties, different subjects, and it takes them a very long time to do it. It's a team of experts. It's a team of people with expert technological knowledge who are building these applications. It takes them a very long time to do it. And once they have created it, it's got quite limited use, perhaps to a single class. When we went to visit them from Eon last year, the team said to me, you know, if we were wanting to do what you're doing, but at the rate that we're building things now, it's going to take us another 100 years to get to where you are. And so the barriers to widespread use of augmented and virtual reality have been that there's no easy way to create content for people who are not experts. There's no, the VR and AR devices are expensive and somewhat clumsy, but also because their hardware distribution is difficult. So mass use by students is difficult. And there's a lack of assets from which to build content. So this is what distinguishes the Eon platform, and this is how it has attempted to overcome those problems so that it's usable, scalable, and accessible. Usable meaning that it really is very easy to use, and I hope that I'll be able to show you that. In other words, I mean, I've been around universities long enough to know that there'll always be 5% of people who are the people interested in the technology itself, who get involved with it, who want to use it and so on. But 95% of faculty don't. 95% of faculty actually want to use it for their teaching, but they don't want the actual technology to be the focus. And so it needs to be usable. So with Eon XR, it is quite literally as easy as using PowerPoint for both faculty and for students. It's also scalable, meaning that you can use it with thousands of students. And it's accessible, meaning that across all devices, so that as you'll see, the lessons that you create are immediately accessible on mobile devices of all kinds, on desktops, and on most headsets. So there are a couple of general points to make about why XR is effective in learning, but there are also some specific design aspects of Eon XR that I think embody active learning practices, which of course is what we're all aiming for. Now, to the pedagogical imperative, and for me, this is really important. It's something that has been challenging for me over all of the time that I've been working in universities, and I think it's actually, it really is an imperative. We really do need to change the way that we teach. We need to look very carefully at the whole kind of structure of university teaching. And one of the problems has always been that there's a gap between theory and practice. This is something that I have heard in almost every country I've been to, from employers, from students, and often from faculty. And that is that the kind of university education that I had was abstracted from reality. The theory and the practice don't connect. And as Bertil Anderson once said to me, many people in Singapore say to me, students come out of university knowing lots of stuff, but they don't know what to do with the stuff that they've learned. They don't know how to use it. And that's a problem with the method of learning. And it's also a problem with the method of assessment. If I were to revolutionize anything around the world, it'd be student assessment, but particularly to get rid of certain kinds of exams. And it seems to me that this is a challenge that can be met to some extent with augmented and virtual reality. And this is something that I think a lot of institutions actually recognize. So, for example, Los Angeles City College, and particularly in their nursing school, and they are now using our platform every day. They have been doing so for quite a while now. But in their very first meeting with us about a year ago now, they said, and this is an actual quotation from an email, we want to be able to bridge the gap between lecture-based knowledge and applied skills. So they recognize that gap that I'm talking about. Similarly, a Singapore hospital said to us that they need to be able to convert theory-based knowledge into practical skills through lifelike experiences. I frankly think this is an urgent need for higher education around the world. We need to change. Faculty need to kind of recognize that this is an important aspect of 21st century education. So is there actually any proof? Well, let's have a look at this study from 2019 from the University of Copenhagen. And I think this is very interesting. I'd have to say that a lot of the research into augmented and virtual reality over the last 20 years has been disappointing. And that's because they're often measuring the wrong things, as this study points out. So here, 3 groups of students, those learning with desktop VR simulation and those with immersive VR simulation and those using a conventional safety manual, were learning laboratory safety. Now, an interesting point here is that all 3 groups performed equally well on factual knowledge after they'd done their learning. This is a really important point to note. As the authors said, that if they'd stopped at this point, they may have come to the conclusion that neither of the interventions in terms of virtual reality made any difference. But they're measuring the wrong thing, because actually measuring the factual knowledge is just not that important. And it's certainly not important in gauging whether students can perform in real life. Unfortunately, there's still a lot of it going on. But students taking immersive, but when they put the students into a real high stakes context, into a real laboratory where the students were given actual problems to solve and they had to solve them on the spot, at that point, the immersive VR students significantly outperformed the other 2 groups. And in turn, the desktop VR students outperformed those using the laboratory manual. Now, in terms of educational talk, what this shows is, it indicates is something about learning transfer. Learning transfer meaning the idea that how you learn has an effect on how you can use what you learn. So certain ways of learning enable you to transfer that to other situations and others don't. Here, there's positive transfer in terms of the immersive VR and very poor transfer in terms of the conventional laboratory manual. However, those doing the conventional laboratory manual, performed well on the factual knowledge, but it's not factual knowledge that's important. So how does Eon XR design, how does the design enable active learning? The first thing to say, and I'm sure that many of you know this, and many of you have probably read this book before, that you need a form of educational technology where the technology itself isn't always intruding on your consciousness. It should be in the background. It should just work. Now, as the director of teaching and learning at NTU, I used to have people coming to me almost every week trying to sell different forms of technology. And one of the things that I began to notice was that there were some things where the technology itself was often foregrounded. So I remember, for example, a certain form of interactive whiteboard that we were being sold, which is, it's disappeared now, I'm happy to say. But that interactive whiteboard required constant attention. You were always having to focus on the technology itself and not on how you used it. So faculty just gave up on it completely and refused to use it because, in fact, it was getting in the way of the flow of their teaching. So you actually need something that doesn't add extra cognitive load to what you're already doing. And that's where this platform works really well. There's no coding or advanced technological knowledge required to create it, to create learning experiences. It's got mass distribution on mobile devices, desktops or headsets, and there's a library of ready-made assets. You can see some of those here, but I'll show you this again later when I give you a demonstration. But here are, this is what it looks like. And so there are hundreds of thousands of assets already there, ready to be used. So conceptually, what's this like? Okay, let's imagine that you've got this cloud-based platform where it provides you with a kind of studio space, a creation space, or a maker space, as somebody in America once said to me about it. And inside that studio space, you've got the tools to enable you to be able to create learning experiences, whether you're a student or you're a faculty member. And then you've got the ability also to distribute it. how does it work? First of all, you upload 3D models, immersive environments, or 360 photos, and you either take those from the existing library that Eon provides, or you import them. They can be your own models, your own 360 photos, or you could, of course, there are many other sources for getting them. I myself frequently use Sketchfab's museums. Sketchfab has teamed up with about 150 museums around the world. And if you go through there, you can get some really beautiful models, royalty free, that you can then immediately upload to the Eon XR platform. I'll talk a bit more about that afterwards. So once it's inside, you then have these tools. You can add information by way of voice memos. And again, I'm going to show you all of this. And activities, videos, including 360 videos, quizzes for formative assessment, and 3D recordings. You only have to do that once, and you will see how easy it is to do it. And once you've done it, it's available almost immediately for mass distribution. It's available on any internet-connected device, so that a student may access it on a phone or then go and access it on a desktop. And it's available automatically in multimodal AR and VR. Again, you don't have to do anything to make that happen. It happens just by creating the lesson. And the same kind of thing with multi-user and remote. It's available so in other words, you could have 50 students all in different locations. They might all be at home, say during the COVID lockdown period. All of the students are at home. They've got their mobile device, and with a code, they can all join into the same space and be looking at the same thing simultaneously, manipulating it together, presenting to each other, and communicating with each other in that space. This is a wonderful kind of focus, I think, for collaborative learning. In this report that came out in January this year from Open University, the Open University, talking about innovating pedagogy in 2021, when they come to addressing augmented and virtual reality, which they call enriched reality to cover all bases, they say that it's at its best when it's used to create experiences that would not otherwise be possible. I think this is a really important point to remember. We try to emphasize this at Eon, and it's part of my emphasis on filling that gap bridging that gap between theory and practice. That is to use augmented and virtual reality in ways that are not just substitutes for what's gone before. We all know, we've all read, reports in papers in various countries around the world about student complaints where what's been happening during COVID is that many faculty just simply substitute their face-to-face lectures with online lectures. Boring and useless. It's a way of just simply translating an existing way of teaching to a different medium, but the same kind of approach. Let's have a look at what that might mean, but in a very small way. So I'm not talking about a spectacular change here, but I think a significant change. There are two things I'd like to point out about what I'm showing you now. One is I want you to see what this looks like from a student point of view. My interest is in student learning. It's not in using technology for the sake of it or because it's cool or anything like that. The only reason to use this would be that it improves student learning. Otherwise, don't bother. So it seems to me that we need to then look at the student experience. Here's a lesson that is created for conic sections. And what I'm showing you is a video of the lesson, not the lesson itself. So you're seeing a video of how the lesson looks on the Eon XR platform. And I want you to imagine that this is a student using this at home, perhaps doing homework. So what you're going to see here is the student's going to drop the model using AR mode, which I will show you later on my own phone. Drop the model on the floor. You can drop the model on any flat surface. It's markerless augmented reality. Can scale it up and down. The student can walk around it, have a look at it from all different angles, can use the animations to take the conic sections. And of course, all of these can be done in various ways and repeated. In addition, there are other activities inside this lesson, and you can see right down here, there's a little film strip, because actually it's got videos involved as well. So after doing this, the student can then go and click on here and look at the video. And there are lots of other activities inside the lesson as well. I'm just showing you the kind of top level. Okay, so why is this different from other ways? If you look at this YouTube video, for example, you'll see much the same as what you've just seen, except there's a big difference. It's passive. The student can't actually play with it. The student can't scale it, walk around it, look at it in 3 dimensions, and go back, try it, and then try it again, and so on. And of course, there are limitations to this. Now, I'm not suggesting that you don't learn something from all of these. Of course you do. I'm talking about what's extra in terms of the augmented reality. So the closest you can get is using this kind of real plastic cone, which have been around for years, and you can play with these, and you get a similar sense of being able to explore it and play with it and so on. But of course, there are major limitations with this in terms of distribution. The other thing is that if you go back to this, not only can the student actually play with it in the way that I've shown you, but you could potentially have 50 students all together doing the same thing, all in the same space simultaneously from remote locations with their mobile phones at home. They're looking at the same thing. And here's another example of how, and again, I want to emphasize that this is from the student point of view. That's the most important thing, from the student point of view. Here, a student is at home and has dropped the Arduino electronic board on the desk in front of him. He's looking at it, can scale it up, can look at it in detail, and then compare it with the real board. Now, you all know about this kind of digital twin thing, but what I'm emphasizing here is the importance of ease of use, how easy this is for students to use at home and perhaps to be doing their homework. One other thing that I would say here, and I think it's important to get this into perspective a little bit, is that human beings don't actually learn that much from episodic life itself. I mean, I'm not saying we don't learn things, we do. But if we were able to do a lot of our learning in that way to advance, then we wouldn't need formal education. But we do need formal education. And the reason we need formal education is because we need what we call both first-hand and second-hand knowledge. We need the first-hand experience plus the second-hand theory and formulae and all of those kinds of things. We need to learn both. The problem with universities is that they've separated those things out. And if you look at this, what you'll see is a nice example of where you get both. So here, again, this model has been dropped on the ground outside. The person who's using it is looking at it on their tablet. And then you can, so you get the kind of psychological experience, the psychological presence, the feeling of it being real, of it being a real size and all of that kind of stuff. But that's not enough to learn from. In order to learn from it, you also need the tools that enable analysis. And that's why I say the platform design is really important. It's not just the experience of the real life experience. It's the combination of the real life experience plus the tools for analysis that are combined, and here combined very easily. One other thing, of course, you can do is to have more immersive environments. So in this case, if you scale up this supermarket, you can, of course, with your phone, just walk around it. You can change things on the shelves and so on. And I've done this with a lot of public buildings, historical buildings, where the Colosseum, for example, I dropped on the ground outside my apartment, scaled it up to full size, and I could walk inside the Colosseum and around the Colosseum. So I'll skip this one and go on to one final thing, because as well as the 3D models in immersive environments, what's emerging as something of great interest to a lot of universities are the 360 lessons. Here, I'll just stop this for a second. Here, what you're seeing is 4 360 photos that have been joined together into a lesson with lots of annotations and videos attached. I think there are something like 6 or 7 videos inside here. There are quizzes and there's lots of annotation. So you get a really rich cultural history of the Acropolis in Athens. This is something that students themselves can do very easily, and in fact are doing at a number of places, for creating, for example, their own field trip diaries. So they just take 360 photos of the field trips. They then upload them, and it's as easy as uploading to Instagram. They then add these annotations. They can add videos and all kinds of things to it. And it's a really useful way for students to be able to record their field trips and other things, their surrounding environments and so on. The last example I want to show you is of the collaboration. So here you've got all of these people inside this space. And once again, you're going to see what it looks like when this model is dropped outside and scaled up, but you have a number of people there at the same time. So Brock, for example, at the moment, here's Brock's avatar, and Brock is actually presenting and showing the other people here what's going on. But any of these people can take over as presenter, or there may be no presenter, and all of the students are kind of manipulating the model. So finally, in terms of what I want to say here before going on to give you a demonstration, is that we believe that the most effective way of using this platform is through student self-directed learning, meaning that rather than the teachers being the people who create the experiences, it's the students who do it. And that is happening at other universities, in particular at University of Business and Technology in Kosovo, where they're onto their second semester using this platform. And in the first semester, it was the students who created something like 4,000 lessons, so-called lessons, as assignments. I've been very lucky over the last 5 years to work with John Hattie, whom I'm sure many of you know of. And I've talked to him about my favorite quotation from him, which is this. And he says it's true, you know, that if you look at the 50,000 plus individual studies, then the greatest effects on student learning are when teachers become learners of their own teaching, which is why all university teachers should be trained. And when students become their own teachers. And this is what we suggest with the Eon platform, that in fact, it's very powerful and effective when it's the students who are creating it, but they couldn't do it unless the platform was easy to use. So how does that work? One example that I like from the University of Business and Technology in Kosovo, where they do a lot of architectural stuff and design stuff and so on. But one medical example is where they say, okay, what you need to do, this is telling the students, what they need to do is to build a learning experience on the platform showing how blood moves around the body. So students have to find the appropriate model. They then have to plan. They need to do research for the information that they're going to bring in. They need to research the videos that they're going to use. And given the amount of rubbish that there is on YouTube, that requires a bit of work. And they need to build the lesson and then share and evaluate with their peers, so that it's a whole process through which they actually learn by constructing these lessons on the platform. But as I say, that couldn't happen if it wasn't easy. One final thing to say here is that at Eon, we have a continuing relationship with the institutions that we engage with. It's not a matter of just kind of leaving you with the technology. I myself do a needs assessment by actually looking at the curriculum, looking at the learning outcomes, the courses and so on, discussing with faculty how it might be used. We have training. There's an educator course and a master course, and we have regular webinars and evaluation. So the implementation process actually goes over a very long period where people get trained in how to use it. We talk about the curriculum and work out how it's best going to be used. All right, so I'm going to finish this part here. And what I'm going to do now is to go into the platform itself so I can show you how it works. So I'm going into the platform, and I've already logged in, so just to save a little bit of time. But this is what I see when I log in. So what I see here is the first page here of the library. And as you can see, there are 3D assets and there are 360. So let's just exclude the 3D, and you'll then see that there are lots of 360 assets. And as I said to you, these are gaining a lot of interest from a number of universities now. And then I can exclude those, and what you'll see, for some reason that hasn't actually happened. Let me just take out those. Yeah, and then you can see the 3Ds. Okay, and you can see categories down the left-hand side. But what I'm going to do is to show you how to create a lesson. You can see here there's the library. There's my workspace, which has got all of my lessons inside it. And then there's create lesson here. Now, this is the most important button. And I want you to take note that all I'm doing is clicking buttons. I'm not doing anything special. I'm not doing anything that requires specialist knowledge. So I click the button, and then what comes up is a choice between creating a 3D lesson or a 360 lesson. I'd like to be able to show you both, but it's for the sake of time, it's better just to do one, and I'll do the 3D lesson. So I click on there. Then I've got one more choice between browsing, in other words, browsing in the existing library that I showed you before, or importing. What happens if I import? So let's suppose I've got my own model that I want to bring in. And the point of doing that is that if you bring your own model into the Eon XR platform, then you can do something you can't do in other ways, and that is you can distribute it. So you can get very wide distribution of the use of the model by bringing it into the platform. Once you've brought it in, when you bring it in, sorry, you've got the choice of bringing in all of these different industry standard formats, and they will be automatically converted on the cloud for you to use. You put in a category and so on, and categorize it, and then you've got it ready to use. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go to browse, and when I go to browse, I'm going to look for today no. Look for a 4-stroke engine, and then I'm going to get 2 sets of choices once that happens. So here you can see these are the things that are in the free library of Eon XR directly related to 4-stroke engines. But let's suppose that I don't want to use one of these. I want something else. Then I've got the choice of going into premium assets. Now, this is a partnership we have with CG Trader. And as one of the largest brokers of 3D models in the world, CG Trader also has somewhere between 1 and 2 million assets. And then I can browse here and have a look down this list. And obviously I'm getting lots of stuff that's completely inappropriate here, but let's suppose, what will I choose? Let's suppose I choose this two-stroke moped engine instead. So what happens is that then you get a price in US dollars. That price is both for the purchase of the model, and it varies. I mean, this is a moderately expensive one. Some of them are only about $20. And then, of course, some of them go up to, 100 or more. This price is both for the model and for the cost of converting it and optimizing it. So it will be optimized for you as part of that, and you'll have access to it. But you don't pay cash for it. It's actually by way of credits, and you get those credits as part of the deal that you do with Eon once you engage with the platform. Once you adopt the platform, part of what you will do is get credits as well. So then a faculty member only has to ask for credits to be able to use the model. So let's now go out of here, but I'm not going to use one of the premium assets. I'm going to use this one here. And so now if I show you how to how this works, set the category and build the lesson. Now, what I'm doing now is opening up what I described before as a kind of studio space or a maker space. And what you'll see is that once you're inside there, you've got the model, but you've also got a number of tools that enable you then to create the learning experience. You also get a tutorial guide. So this will tell you all of the different functionalities as you go around. All right, so now I've got my model. I can manipulate it. I can scale it. I can X-ray it. I can explode it. I can double click on any part and see it by itself. I can look at the annotations, and these annotations come with the model, but they're not fixed. You can modify them, so you can write different things if you want to. You can delete them if you want to, and you can create your own. So don't think that these are fixed as they are. In addition to that, if you click on the plus sign for any of these, you can then on this side, you can create a voice memo attached to that and also add a video to it. Animation, click here, and here you've got a dissection tool which enables you to take parts of the thing out and put it back together again. So that's on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you've got a number of other tools here to create the lesson. You can create memos, as I've already said. So you click on those plus signs and you can put in voice memos and videos. You can do a build activity, which means that if you create this, when the student comes to the build activity, the model will automatically explode, and then they're required to put it back together, and you can set a timer for doing that as well. The same with locate. You can ask them to locate certain parts. You can ask them to identify certain parts, and these can be timed as well. And you've got quizzes, and the quizzes you can. You don't have to. This is a very simple kind of template for a quiz, as you see here. I don't use this in this way at all. If I'm creating a lesson, I make much more complex stems. And I make the quiz so that the student really has to kind of think and explore what's going on. And you've got 3D recording, which I'll come back to. But let's go to the intro. If you go to the intro and you want to create the initial voice memo for the intro, you click on here. And then you've got the Memo builder, or you can upload your own audio file. So if you've got an existing file, you can upload it here and the students can listen to it, or you can use the Memo builder, which is text to speech. So let's go to text to speech. Once you're inside text to speech, you can see that you've got the choice of all of these different languages, and we're adding to this all the time so that, you know, ultimately there'll be a much longer list. And in terms of English, you can choose different accents. And of course, you can choose different voices. So if you're choosing United States English, you've got all of these choices. So then all you need to do is to type in whatever it is you want in the introduction. And I tend to use introductions actually to direct the students to the next activity, not just simply to give information. And then you click here to create the voice memo, and then you can preview it. Now, because I haven't enabled the sound, you actually won't be able to hear this playing. But if I create that and then I preview it, I can hear it, but you won't be able to hear it. Now, another way of doing this, another thing you can do here is to get extra information by looking up the internet. So I do 4-stroke engine. I click go here, and then I will get information already given to me that's appropriate. There are 8 different things here that I can choose from. Obviously, I can modify this. I can add to it, and so on. So let's, I'll take this second one here, and I'll create a voice memo out of that, and I'll save it. And now we've got a voice memo. Then after having done that, you can add the, then you can add a video. And all you need to do is to enter the URL for the video here, click OK, and then you've got a video added as well. Now, you can potentially add as many videos as you want. I've, you know, some of the lessons that I've done before might have like a total of 25 activities, and amongst that, there might be 8 videos. That's to give the students the opportunity to do branching. They might not want to look at every single part of the lesson, but they can go off on different paths of learning within it. The other thing that I'd like to show before going on is the 3D recording. The 3D recording enables you to do a live voice recording attached to the model, and several things can result from that. If you do a procedure, so if I do a voice recording and then I use the tools to pull the 4-stroke engine apart or put it back together again, then after I finish that, and I enable the assessment, which I can do easily, the students then can follow that procedure and be assessed on their performance at the end. So they'll get an automatic assessment. Okay, so I'm recording now. So everything that I'm showing you here will actually be recorded, and students can play it back. And I'm showing you here the spark plug, and here the 2 different valves, and here you see the cylinder head. I'll just stop that because that's all I need to do. And then you can see it from 2 different points of view. You can see it played back from my point of view, or you can see it played back from a 3rd-person point of view. Okay, so that's how you do a 3D recording. Now, I'm giving you a very sketchy version of building a lesson. If I were actually creating a lesson, I'd be using all of the other functionalities. I'd be, you know, and it would take me a lot longer to do. I just want to give a sense to you of how easy it is to do this, so that you can be creative with this. You can think about the sequencing of the activities, which I think is very important. what follows what. Where do you place the quizzes in order for them to have maximum effect in terms of formative assessment and so on. Okay, so I'm going to go out of the lesson, and what you see now is that already you can play this lesson, you can start a collaborative meeting with this lesson, and you can launch it in virtual reality. So if your computer is enabled and you've got a headset, you can actually use this in virtual reality automatically. But that's not what I want to mainly show you, because most people are actually going to be, most students are going to be using this on a mobile device. So I'd like to show you how it looks from a student's point of view on a mobile device. And so I'm just going to mirror my phone now, and you're going to see this. You'll see this live. I'm not. This is not a recording. This is me actually using my phone, and I'm going into the Eon XR platform. And when we get in, you'll see that this looks the same as it's pretty much the same as what you've already seen. You don't have to kind of think about a different format here. Down the bottom right-hand side, you've got create. I can create the lesson that I've just done on my phone as well, and I can edit it. You've got my workspace, you've got the library, and so on. And I'm going to go into my workspace, and I'm going to go into lessons, and you will see that here's the lesson that I just created. It's already there. So I can already distribute this to students. And again, I've got the ability to do different things, including you see up the top up here, you can actually download the lesson for offline use. So you can actually do it offline, which is very useful for a lot of students. And I'm going to start the lesson. So this is what you see when you go into it. This is the lesson that I've just created while you were watching it. And when we get into it, you'll see that I can do the same kinds of things with this. For some reason, the internet here in Singapore is a little bit slow today. A lot of things have been quite slow to upload. But once it gets there, you'll see what I want. Here we go. All right. So here's the model. And I can do all the same kinds of things. You can see if I touch in the intro bar, you'll see a list of the activities. This is actually quite useful, I think. In some of our lessons, you'll see 25. You can scroll down and you'll see the sequence of activities, and there are many of them. So all I did was create the intro quiz and 3D recording. You can see all the same functionality down the left-hand side, the X-ray, annotations, etc. But what I really want to show you is the top, these buttons up here. So these were not on the desktop. These are for the mobile, and I'm going to go to AR. And what you're seeing now is my desk. So I'm going to drop the model onto my desk. And now I'm going to stand up. I'm going to walk around it, look at it from the top. I can get close up to it, move further away, and watch you seems to have got stuck for a minute. And now you can see it's got the same kind of functionality here in AR mode as you saw before in desktop mode. Now, if I had a model of a building, I can do the same kind of thing outside on a big space. I can scale it up 1-to-1 like a whole apartment block, and I can walk inside it and around inside it and look at it and see its dimensions. This has been really useful for architecture and design students in particular, but also for people creating things like art exhibitions in galleries. There is also a VR mode. And unfortunately, I don't actually have the glasses to show you. We do have some plastic glasses that fit over the phone or fit over any mobile device. The advantage of these glasses is that they can be used on any size device. They work equally well on tablets or on phones without changing. This doesn't look particularly effective as it stands when you're seeing the split screen, but of course, you just need to use the gaze mechanism to be able to use the functionality, and you can twist it around and look at it in 3 dimensions. However, I admit that, you know, doing it this way on the screen in front of you isn't quite as effective. I just want to show you that it exists. And in fact, we'll go out of that and go back to the original. And again, let me just go now to the 3D recording, which I showed you doing before. Okay, so with that, I will get out of this space now. And I think that, you know, now we can perhaps have some questions and discussion.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
Should I start? Yeah, Raj. Okay, good to hear that is you did mention on student learnings, not the technology. It is good for us. I have many questions, but while you are doing the demonstration and talking, you have already answered all my questions.
And, God, that's good to know.
I let other people, other faculty member, ask any question, please. Sorry, we promised that this is 1 hour seminar, but question and answer can be more than that. So if you you want to leave, you can leave. We have 19 participants here.
Right? Wow, I didn't notice that. All suddenly came aboard.
Okay,
that's nice. That's good. Yeah, we pick up the questioners.
Yeah. And any question from the floor?
Okay, thank you. While waiting for others, thank you, Dr. Peter and Mr. Luke. So very impressive. I think 3D VR AR system, integrated, system. So I would like to ask for the the assets and the lessons. So we've seen in 3D just now you can upload. So in 360, I assume as well, you can upload the scenes from outside.
Yes. Actually, the same kind of thing. In fact, it's easier in some ways. With the 360 photos, it really is just a matter of uploading them. As I said to you, it's a bit like using Instagram. You put in the photos and you can sequence them. So you can pull in, I mean, I don't know I don't think there's any limit to it, but I've done as many as 5, and then you link them together, and you choose the order that you want, and students can go from one to the other, and then you can add the annotations inside that, and the videos and quizzes. One of the advantages of it is actually pedagogically, it's a bit different. Because when you're looking at the 360 photos, it's not like a sequence of activities like with the 3D. So with the 3D, I showed you, you've got activities that are sequenced, right? So you go from an introduction, then you might have you don't have to stick to it, but then you go from an introduction to perhaps an identifier and then perhaps a quiz and all of this kind of stuff. But in the 360 photos, it's kind of random. And so you'll look around, so you're exploring the space and you say, oh, I'm interested in that. And then you might click on that annotation, right? Now, one of the things that I've discussed with a couple of universities, one in London and one in America, is the possibility, therefore, of branching in the way that people do in games. You know, you choose your own direction in a game. And so here you can, I've created a couple of 360 lessons. Okay, I'll give you an example. I made one of the Taj Mahal, and it's based on 4 photographs. They're really nice photos, actually. They're photos of the Taj Mahal. They're very clear, very sharp. And inside that lesson, you can explore different kinds of interests. So you might want to follow the interest of the history of the building of the Taj Mahal and you know, the history of Shah Jahan and Mumtaz Mahal, or you might want to follow the history of garden design, or you might want to follow the history of Islamic architecture and the place of the Taj Mahal in Islamic architecture, those kinds of things. So potentially you can create an incredibly rich lesson with different aspects in it, and obviously suitable for different subjects as well. It's also particularly good for teaching tourism.
Awesome, thank you. One more question. I was really intrigued by your collaborative, you know, where the students could collaborate on one, you know, 3D model.
Yep.
I mean, could you like explain more on how the students can manipulate? Because usually we use the, you know, AR and 3D is usually one, you know, for self-learning. But I think in this collaborative sense, I think it will be very interesting.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I wish I could I could show you, but it takes a bit of time to set that up and to show you. So you can have students all in the same space. They can be looking at the same model and independently can manipulate it, or it can be manipulated all together looking at exactly the same kind of thing. So there's a number of possibilities. The other thing that's really interesting now is that because originally you could only do this collaborative learning using mobile devices, but now you can do it from the desktop as well. And you can have people on their mobile phone showing the model in markerless AR, as I showed you the 4-stroke engine on my desk, or as you saw in the example of the video with the people in the same space with the truck, and everybody can see it. Even the people on their desktop can see that as well. So what it means is there are a number of possibilities, and they can communicate with each other by doing it. So it's really a very good way of doing collaborative learning, I think.
Okay, yeah, great. So before I take everything, let's give it to the other people to ask.
Yeah, let other people.
Yes, yeah. Anybody? Okay, while waiting for that question, maybe I'll chip in again. You were saying about the mobile phone, and you can put you know, sort of glasses in there. Is that like you know, off-shelf? I mean, you know, you can buy at a store. Do you have to use your goggles, or we can use the you know, sort of the Google Cardboard thingy? Is that a thing, or how's that?
Yeah. You can use other things as well. It's just that we do have glasses that you can buy. They're only a couple of dollars, and Raj, I don't suppose you've got any on you, have you?
Yeah, I do have, but I don't have it here.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think mine are in the office. I'll have to get some at
Yeah,
home
but
here.
what happened is, just to add, Peter, well, that particular glass is basically a 3D glass, which can be used on top of the mobile phone and view it on a 3D dynamics. But the other options, yeah, of course, you could use the 3D dummy boxes by Samsung and all that, which is
Yeah.
now so
Yeah.
much cheaper. So you can work on any vertical. We are okay with that.
Yeah.
The objective that they can view, it could be any hardware. We are never a hardware dependent company. You know what I mean? We are flexible with any hardware. Did we answer the question?
Yes. Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. Yeah. It's very impressive because I've yet to see a system that, sort of you can create the lessons of 3D and, like AR, VR inside the system, and then go from, just because we just usually view on, CGI Trader or
Right.
other CG Trader or other 3D modelings, but we can just see, or on the iPad you use the Reality Composer, so we can just build and then, sort of integrate that into a system that can be, coherently and collaboratively, done with all the people. I think it's brilliant. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Dr. Rai, say it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. One other thing I wanted to add, just quickly, we understand UKM is actually majoring in AR and VR. I've seen what you all are doing. That's why I sent the email whether that particular doctor could be included. Now, they could really play a major role in developing all content within the university. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And if we, sort of, create the models and upload. So is it like possible for anybody to use it, or how is that?
Yeah. And in fact, what we're sort of hoping is that sometimes there's a little bit of confusion for people between the existing library that we've got and the creation of content. So this really is a tool for people to be able to upload content, whether it comes from the library or it's your own. And it's the creation of the learning experiences and its distribution that's the really important part of it. And so, of course, we would encourage people, and people do, upload their own models. I've been working with a university in South Africa where there's a particular faculty member in chemistry, and she has over the last few months been working with a content developer, and they've developed a number of really fantastic models for chemistry, which she's then uploaded. And the point of the platform is she can now use this with all her students. And all she needs is the phone. She doesn't need, hundreds of headsets or anything like that. So yes, uploading your own content is fantastic. And in fact, obviously, there are going to be things that you don't find in the platform that are ready made. There are lots of things that are ready made, and there are lots of things in CG Trader that are ready made. But you're going to come across, things that you want that you won't find. And we're hoping that therefore people will create their own models and upload them.
Yeah, Dr. Rai.
Okay. Hi, my name is Raihana. I'm from UKM. It was a very interesting session, especially somebody who is from humanities. I'm not from the sciences. I'm not from the medical or technological background. I'm from the humanities, and I teach literature in English. Okay. So I was just thinking, as I'm looking at all this, I was thinking in terms of literary studies. One of the challenges that we face with our students is their ability to imagine what it is that they are reading.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you think about, like, if you're reading a romantic, the romantics, right, Wordsworth and Keats and all that, can't imagine what it was like, the Lake District, unless you have traveled, unless you've been to those parts of the world. So when you mentioned about the assets and uploading models, and I was thinking, okay, I've been to Greece, what you showed me just now, that was lovely. It's nice to reinforce that with some kind of a descriptor, some kind of an imagined model. But what if it's a place that is fictional? You know, be it science fiction or fantasy. You wait for the movie to come out before you realize, oh, that's what the writer meant, right? So is there a way to kind of reverse that process where we get the students to say, based on what they've read, this is what they picture the character to look like, the landscape to be like? Does this platform allow that? That's my question. But it's really engaging. Thank you.
Well, if before I answer that, I should say that my original discipline is English literature as well. So I taught English literature at the University of New South Wales for a very long time. And I agree.
We are the minorities in the crowd. I'm sure we are the minorities here.
We definitely are. But what I would say is that it only depends on the ability to make the appropriate models for things like that. So I think it's, let me give you an example of one that my colleague John often shows. We've got a model, for example, of a medieval castle. Now it's an imagined castle. It's not a real one. It's been designed clearly to show features of a castle. But what you can do is to drop this castle onto a flat surface, scale it up, and you can actually walk around inside it, right? So it's absolutely possible to do the kind of thing that you've got. It just requires having somebody design the right kind of, the right kind of model to be able to do it. But something like going to the Lake District is entirely possible, and I agree with you. I think that creating those kinds of scenarios is a really as yet an untapped potential for this platform.
You can get that in Google Map. Like you can go on Google Map, you can kind of get images, but you don't have a platform that kind of merges it very seamlessly,
Well, actually, I did try, and our founder Dan and I both went through Google Street View and uploaded photos from Google Street View, and it works really well. It works really well in the platform. So because you get a 360 view. So what I'm saying is you could go to the Lake District and get photos from Google Street View.
In other words, it can be done.
It can be done. That's the answer. Yeah.
Any more from? Okay. If not, we finish. But I think we will meet Raj. I don't know. Maybe Peter will be discussed on what next in UKM. So I think we finished the talk, the seminar, or the webinar today. Everybody can leave, but I don't know. Look, we continue the meeting or we make it later?
You're switched off, Raj.
Thank you, first of all, giving us this opportunity. I think now we understand the full dynamics, what our platform can deliver to the university, and how we actually empower the students on self-directed learning, collaborative learning will actually empower them to move forward in the next future of work. I think that's where it's lacking in industry when I engage with industry. So with that, since what you all wanted can be accommodated, our platform can deliver. And in UKM, you already have the particular vertical of developing AR, VR content. That's fabulous. Now with the collaboration with that basis, we can actually move forward, taking one at a time in different capacities.
All right.
Right.
Okay. Let us finish the webinar. I will let Datuk Mazuki know about this, and we
Okay.
will talk later about it. Yeah,
Okay, sounds good.
definitely we'll get in touch with you.
I'm looking forward to engage. I'm really looking forward to engage Malaysian Public University to go
Yeah.
into digital transformation and education.
Yeah.
If not, we will lose out. All our neighbors are moving forward as I'm talking to you. We don't want to be loosed out. Yeah, there's cost. I mean, you can't run away cost, but the cost is one-time cost. But the empowerment will be greater to the industry, especially to the students, that I mean. And the industry is looking for, this is what the industry is looking for, skill-based students. You get what I mean? So if we can empower that to move forward, I think the education industry can further enhance with greater heights. Yeah.
Yeah, especially here in UKM, this is a comprehensive university, not only engineering, not only science, but we have from A to Z
Right.
area.
Right. So the single platform can support all verticals for you. You know what I mean? So not only one, all verticals of faculties, they can accommodate and support them as well on a single platform. So what I'm going to do is that, yeah, please speak to Maduki and then come back to us, and then we will submit you our proposal, what can be done and how we can move forward.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
That'd be good. And Prof. Ahmad, don't forget about the grant.
Yeah.
I would request you all to submit as well, because that will help you all save a lot of money. Get what I mean? So might as well do it. So with that, I want to thank you again. Appreciate your time. Yeah, let's move forward from here.
Okay.
Well,
Right.
thanks everybody.
Right.
Good to meet you all, and I hope that we get to meet again.
Right. Okay.
Thanks
Thank you very
for
much.
doing the magic tricks.
Right. No, I think it's always what they call, it's complementing each other. Get what I mean? You have need, we have the platform. We come together and see how we can tweak to actually move forward. So yeah, we spent 20 years to develop this thing. Now we are more stable to move forward. So yeah, let's move forward from here. Yeah. Thank you very much. All the best to you all. Have a great weekend.
Yes, thanks everybody.
And looking forward to hear from you, Prof. Ahmad, and from Maduki as well. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a great day.
See you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.